profit is made and increase in value is made with stock. And the program of TOGA for using the OTC market with a game plan to be at NASDAQ market and a game plan for everyone in this room to become very wealthy through stock. You will hear from others the whole concept of how you can make your wealth through the products of TOGA and how you as leaders are uniquely today being invited. And I just said too much for the interpreters. Okay. A little about Vista Innova, the company that I founded and the company that is in co-venture with TOGA named Vista Innova. And that company is called a merchant bank.
Whoa.
A merchant bank advises operating companies on many items, including how to become a listed stock company. So that's my main job here as chairman of the company. I have the responsibility to make sure the correct work is done for there to be an effective listed stock company, now on OTC, and soon on NASDAQ. So Merchant Bank advises capital, advises on operation business, and advises on stock strategy. The background of a merchant bank: private equity, angel capital, startup capital, venture capital. All of the ways that you read about, all of the ways perhaps you know someone that have made modern fortune in high growth companies, innovative companies, and technology companies. This is our expertise. Our expertise is to know how to be an owner very early in the growth curve of innovation, high growth, and technology. And then our role is to guide the process. We use many suppliers. We use lawyer security specialists from New York exchanges. We use accounting specialists that know Malaysia accounting, US accounting, stock market accounting. And we use experts in the market called market makers who help guide the value and the volume of the trading of the stock. Our main role, my role, to serve you, to serve the company TOGA, is to make sure that we are a well-established OTC market listed stock, and then work with the company until it becomes what we call uplisted to become a NASDAQ stock. So OTC, over-the-counter exchange. That's a formal exchange, which I'll describe in a moment, on an uplist to NASDAQ, National Association of Security Dealer Exchange. The benefits of a stock to you, as opposed to a private company. When you work with TOGA, you become a strategic business alongside TOGA. First, because the stock is a listed stock, the investors of the world give a higher value to a listed stock than a private company. There is greater liquidity. Once you become stockholders, and once you have what we call free trading shares, typically it'll be about 12 months, eventually 6 months from the day that you acquire stock. Then you can sell that stock, and you can sell it denominated in US dollars. So even though you're a Malaysia-based company partner with TOGA, you're a Indonesian living person, you're a Philippines living person, you own shares of stock, and those stocks are denominated and able to be paid for in US dollars. There is expanded access to capital. When a company is listed, yes, it's operating Asia. Yes, it's listed in the US. But when it's listed on the exchanges, people in Europe look at stock once it's on an exchange. People in Africa, people in the Middle East, all of the people around the world can look and say, oh, there's TOGA stock. I will investigate. I might find that interesting. And there's more pressure for the stock to go up. The reason to do a reverse merger, and this is what we have done. Michael, the leader of the company, has set into motion to acquire an existing listed company, OTC listed, and have that company merge into TOGA. And that's the way that we're becoming a public company. That's not exactly the same as you will hear IPO, initial public offering, but it has the same positive effect. There is a listing. We're in the process of the stock. We believe the symbol will be TOGA, T-O-G-A. If not, it'll be T-O-G-C type company. It'll be close, but you'll be able to recognize it. The market focus of my group, Vista Nova Group, and why we're paired with TOGA is because we've studied the markets of the world. And you, fortunately, were born in Southeast Asia, some of you in China. You are in the fastest growing population, the fastest growing economy, and the potential future healthiest and fastest growing economies of the world. So the people of the Middle East now want to know how to invest and where to invest in Southeast Asia and China. The people in Europe want to know how to invest in Southeast Asia and China. You are very fortunate. You get to be here and invest in Southeast Asia and China, and OTC stock market, TOGA stock is your opportunity. Our group also looks at technology, innovation, and growth. Any stock you want to invest in, you want to see those three elements. You want to see that there's some unique technology. You want to see that there's an innovation in the business model. And you want to make sure that that's translated into growth. What kind of growth? I think that growth ends up being sometimes 100% or more in the early years. It starts being 50% a year for sure on a sustained basis, and definitely no less than 30%. But this company is high growth, innovative, and technology driven. Finally, we have what we call micro cap. So over-the-counter stock, the over-the-counter exchange. Micro cap, it's a funny term. Micro means tiny to some people. But in the stock market world where everything is so big, any company that is 300 million US dollars or less is called a micro cap company. And so at this point, TOGA is micro cap. The next stage that it would be, again, kind of odd terminology, any business on the stock exchange that's 1 billion US dollars or smaller is called a small capitalization, small. So 1 billion in the stock exchange is small. So we are micro cap, growing to be small, and then after that they say you're pretty big. Our company, in order to help TOGA, and so I am an employee of TOGA, I'm chairman. I also, parallel, am a partner in an investment company, advisory company. In order to help TOGA with its stock, we have primary offices in Nevada, USA, but we also have offices Southern California, which we call Technology Coast. Northern California, people know as Silicon Valley. And in New York has two communities. One they call Technology Alley, and the other one, obviously, you know, is Wall Street. OTC, over-the-counter exchange, is based in the New York area that is called Wall Street area. OTC Markets is the largest marketplace, electronic trading in the world, pure electronic trading. OTC Markets sometimes, and I take this moment, if you hear something negative about OTC Markets, always feel comfortable, get hold of the staff of TOGA, and if they can't answer your question, they'll get to me, I'll answer your question. You can be very proud of the kind of companies that are OTC listed, and we will get into that, but you can be very proud. It is a very substantial market, and it is a market that has very large multi-billion-dollar companies are OTC listed. OTC has been gaining a reputation now, so like all the banks around the world, Bank of China in the United States, OTC listed. So you can feel very good about that listing. We emphasize at Vista and our partnership with TOGA, high growth. So we say technology and innovation and high growth. High growth is this kind of growth. 5x, 500%. That means for each $1 you invest, $5 come back. That's 5x, 500%. 10x, 10x, 10 times. 10 times is 1,000%. But 100x and more is the strategy of TOGA. And I will show you many, many companies achieve that and greater, so that everyone at TOGA wants you to be thinking, what is it that we're going to do to build this business so that it grows 100x or 10,000% and larger? And the leadership of TOGA operations will talk about that. There will be an individual discussion with you leaders that are here today about a discount of where their stock is today and why you will be able to see that more than 100x, more than 10,000% is possible with the TOGA stock. TOGA is now in completing formation to have a U.S. entity, the U.S. offices in Nevada, the U.S. offices to be the location for the stock actions of the company, the administrative and accounting activity of an audit nature for the U.S. complying to U.S. law. And fortunately for you, when you want to come to visit the TOGA office USA, you will be coming to the city of Las Vegas. Chairman, I am your chairman. I serve as the chairman of the company at the will. For purposes of the U.S. stock company, Michael is CEO and president. He has the signature authority of TOGA USA, TOGA listed stock. So I mentioned growth. I mentioned OTC. We now would have you come to use a term that we believe is important to understand to be successful with a stock and investing, and that is hyper growth. Hyper growth is when you manage a company in such a way that you have 1,000% growth in the early years of the company. I think now some of you may have heard they're using a term, at least in English, called unicorn. Unicorn is the same thing, hyper growth. And it means very rare. Unicorn is a mythical animal, very rare. Hyper growth, successful company, is very rare. We're not saying everyone can do this. We're not saying that every time that you think about a company, of course, they just have to use the words hyper growth and they will have it. No, it takes a company that has the right technology, the right leadership, and the right stock strategy to be able to support and perpetuate long-term hypergrowth. So we have gains of 1,000%, 209 to 215 companies. 45 stocks increased by 10 times their value or more.
Wow.
45 companies. We will show you those companies and you can understand. TOGA has the elements of success of those companies in it already.
All right.
Apple, as an example, from the beginning of when you could own its shares to today, has had a 50,800% growth. So it's possible. That means the person that invested $1 saw 50,800. The person invested obviously 1 million made $50 million. Apple Inc. made history when the stock price at 119, and it became the first U.S. company over 700 billion in value, and now, as we say, 50,800% growth. And what happened? There we go.
Apple pala yung pinakamalaki.
So, now we say
Biggest
why
in the world.
TOGA is OTC. Number one, it's a U.S. exchange. Number two, as you can see, the OTC has $1.4 trillion of stock value. OTC isn't something small. OTC isn't something unimportant. OTC isn't something that people that aren't serious deal with. OTC is very serious. Maybe you've seen a stock fail that was OTC. Maybe you've seen a management team that didn't manage their company or their stock affairs correctly. That was OTC. But OTC itself consists of stocks that are well managed and that have a total value of 1.4 trillion. We have the stated plan to take this company to NASDAQ. NASDAQ is 5 trillion value in stock. And obviously, New York Stock Exchange, 16 trillion. Everyone hears about New York Stock Exchange, 16 trillion. But there's nothing small about $5 trillion at NASDAQ Exchange. So total US stock market, $22.4 trillion of value of people buying and selling shares every day. When it was time for Alibaba to decide what exchange to be on, Jack Ma, he looked at the Hong Kong exchange, he looked at the Shanghai exchange, he looked at the London exchange, and he decided that to have his stock dollar denominated in the US on the New York Stock Exchange. That was the right decision, a US exchange with US dollars. Now we come to a point in the world, and the reason we can talk about being a billion-dollar company is because a billion is small now. Because now we're about to have the first trillion-dollar public company. And we don't know, is it going to be Google first or Apple? And maybe Jack Ma has an opinion that it'll be Alibaba before it's them, I don't know. But the point being, before, we couldn't say we're building a billion-dollar company. People say, how do you do that? Now we know. You do it because you're in business with these, and you're in business with 7 billion population around the world who are all getting to the point of having one of these. And so now, value is given to a company whose vision is big enough, whose management is smart and strong enough, and whose capital strategy with stock market is smart enough. Then you can say, oh yes, I see this is on its way to be a a billion-dollar company. I've mentioned before, because a stock is listed, people all around the world are interested. So it'll even help you in your business building. I know I had the chance to speak to people last night from the Filipino community, and there are Philippine populations. Obviously, there are Chinese populations around the world. It's very unique. Philippine, for its relatively smaller size, has large populations. U.S., of course, but the Middle East, Africa, around the world. And so, when you're talking about your business, and you're able to say, oh, by the way, we are a over-the-counter New York Stock Exchange company, then people are able to find information and say, oh, I see, I understand that. I have more comfort with that. OTC markets are regulated. That means, yes? Okay. OTC market is regulated to protect you, the shareholder. It's not regulated to protect me and the management of the company. It's not regulated to protect our bankers. OTC is regulated and guarantees you, the individual shareholder, protection through
FINRA.